Hi, I am Em and this is Books and Bath Bombs. Today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. That is a long name. This tag was originally created way back by Read Like Wildfire and Earl Grey Books. I think it was created in like 2014 or something. And a lot of booktubers have been doing it like continuously year after year, but I've never gotten around to doing it. However, when I saw Emma Books do it this year, I figured I want to do this tag this year. So I'm gonna leave the original videos from the creators as well as Emma's video from this year down below so you can check them out. This tag is essentially about like looking back on your reading year so far and also kind of talking about what you look forward to reading during the rest of the year. As of recording this, I've only read 10 books so far this year, so my answers are probably gonna be a bit repetitive and I'm sorry about that, but that's just how it's going to be. Question number 1 is the best book you read so far in 2017, and my answer for this is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli, but I also want to give a quick shout out to The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas because this is the book that I'm currently reading and it's up there with this one. The reason I've chosen this book is because I love it. Becky Albertalli's writing is just gorgeous and the story is just so phenomenal. I absolutely flew through this story, which is quite rare for me nowadays because I am still in a reading slump. That's why I've only read 10 books this year so far. But this book I just got hooked on immediately and I absolutely love it. Question number 2 is the best sequel you've read so far this year, and my answer for this is pretty easy because technically I've only read one sequel this year, and that is A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. Since the third book in this trilogy came out this year, I decided to reread the first book and actually read the second book that had been sitting on my shelves for like a year. So yeah, that is my sequel and I really enjoyed it. I think the first book was a little bit better, like just to my taste, but it was still really good. Question number 3 is new release that you haven't read yet but want to, and I have several answers for this and we're gonna go through some of them quickly. Okay, we have History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. This came out at the start of the year and I haven't read it yet. We have The Trials of Apollo Book 2, Dark Prophecy, and that book I don't even own yet. I've ordered it but it hasn't arrived yet. But yeah, that is like one of my most anticipated releases for the year because Rick Riordan, I love him. But I haven't read it yet. We have A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab, which I mentioned earlier. It's the last book in the series. And I've started reading this, but I felt like I needed a break after the first and second book, so I've read some contemporaries and I haven't gotten back to this yet, but I have to. Then we have When Dimple Met Rishi, which I've ordered but not received yet. We have Always and Forever Lara Jean that I haven't even ordered yet. And the last book that I want to mention is Hemmet by Mats Strandberg, which is a Swedish release that I also haven't gotten around to picking up yet. Question number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and this book that I'm gonna mention is not only my most anticipated release for the next half of the year, it's my most anticipated release of the year, and that is of course Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard Book 3, The Ship of the Dead. This series has surprisingly turned out to be my favorite Rick Riordan series of all time, even surpassing like the first Percy Jackson series. I love these books so much, and this fella ended on such a cliffhanger and I can't wait to see how it continues and sadly how it ends, because the third book is also the final book in the series. Question number 5 is biggest disappointment of the year, and I think that my answer for this is a little bit controversial, but I'm gonna have to go with Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. Now, before you all shout at me, the thing is, I loved it, of course, it's Harry Potter, but this used to be tied as my favorite book in the entire series along with Prisoner of Azkaban. But as I reread it this year, I just realized that it was pretty dull. It just went on and not much happened, and I used to love that, but now it was just not my thing. And also so many things were just so frustrating, like the lack of communication and the whole thing that Dumbledore doesn't talk to Harry at all. I understand why he doesn't do that, I really do, but I really didn't think that that was the way to solve the whole problem, and like the occlumency lessons could have been handled so much better and then Sirius wouldn't have had to die. So yeah, this was my biggest disappointment of the year so far. Question number 6 is biggest surprise, and for that I have to answer The One Memory of Flora Banks by Emily Barr. I just finished this last week, and the thing is, for most of the book I was very frustrated. It was just a very confusing novel, but then like once I started understanding what was really going on with the story, I was hooked, and it was such an interesting concept. I can't say anything about like what made it interesting for me because that kind of spoils like a big plot twist nearing the end of the book. But I did not really see that coming at all, and that made the story so much more interesting to me. So I actually ended up really enjoying this book, even though in the beginning I didn't like it very much. Question number 7 is favorite new author, and for that I have to go with Seanan McGuire, who wrote Every Hearted Doorway, and its sequel that has come out. I can't remember the name. I think Down Among the Sticks and Bones, something like that. Seanan McGuire's writing is just so gorgeous. Her books are very short, as you can see. I don't think the sequel is much longer than this, but she manages to create a full story, like every part of creating a fantasy world, like the introductions to the world and developing the characters and all that in under 200 pages and creating a good story. And I don't understand how she did it, but she did. I really loved her writing. Question number 8 is new fictional crush, and I've thought about it and I don't really have one that's new. So I'm gonna do what Emma Books did and say new OTP. And for that I gotta say Alucard and Rye from the Shades of London trilogy. Now I read the first book in the series as soon as it came out, so I already shipped Lila and Kel, so I couldn't say those two. Since I only picked up the sequel this year, Rye's love interest was a new character to me and I really liked him and I liked their chemistry together. They are just so cute and I hope that they can get a happy ending in this book. Question number 9 is newest favorite character, and for that I have to go with Molly from The Upside of Unrequited. She was just such a lovely main character. I related to a lot of the things she said about anxiety and stuff, and she was just such a sweet cinnamon roll and I want to protect her, and she's just so wonderful. I really enjoyed her story, like I said earlier. She was the best. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry, and none of the books I read this year so far has made me cry, so I'm just gonna go with a book that I thought was sad, and that is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. Like, I knew that this was probably gonna be sad when I started reading it, but I just thought that they were gonna get like a loophole or something and get happy, but they really didn't, so I was very sad when I read this, even though it didn't move me to tears, because no books ever do. Question number 11 is a book that made you happy, and I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to go with The Upside of Unrequited again. This book just made me so happy because it was so good and swoon-worthy. Question number 12 is favorite book to movie adaptation that you've seen this year, and I actually haven't seen any. I haven't seen everything yet. So I'm gonna go with an answer that I'm guessing a lot of people will go with this year, and that is the 13 Reasons Why Netflix show. Now, I saw this the day it came out. Less than 24 hours before it was out, I had finished it. So since then, obviously, there has been a lot of controversy and a lot of valid points have been made. But if you only look at the show from like an adaptation perspective, like whether or not it was a good adaptation from the book or not, then I gotta say that it was brilliant. Like, it did change some things, of course, and it added stuff, but I feel like the stuff it added like really worked with the story, and like they made the cast of characters more diverse than in the book. So I actually think that it was a really good adaptation, even though you of course can discuss further whether it's actually a good TV show or not. Question number 13 is my favorite video that I've done so far this year, and obviously I haven't been making very many videos, so I have to say that my getting back into booktube video that should be up by now is my favorite, because it just felt so good to try to do something to get back into doing this. Question number 14 is most beautiful book that you have received so far this year. Now, it hasn't arrived yet, but I really like the cover of When Dimple Met Rishi, so I gotta mention that book. And I also have to mention Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Colthurst. I haven't read this yet, but it's on top of my TBR, and I just think that this cover is so beautiful. Like, the typography is great, the illustrations with the two main characters is great, I love it. And finally, we're at the last question. Question number 15, and that is, what are some books that you have to read before the year is over? I'm gonna have to go with sequels. Like, all of the sequels to books that I've already read that come out this year, I feel like I need to read those. And like, even books that haven't come out this year but that are sequels that I haven't gotten to yet, I want to read those. All of the books that I mentioned earlier basically can apply to this. Like, I want to read Always and Forever Lara Jean, I want to read the second Trials of Apollo, I want to read the third Magnus Chase. That is like top priority. That book is the most important book. And of course, I really need to finish A Conjuring of Light that I've started but not completed yet. But yeah, those basically. Okay, that was my take on the mid-year book freakout tag. I absolutely love this tag. It's so fun to like look back on what you've read and what you want to read and stuff. I'm not gonna tag anybody. If you want to do this tag, do it. I think it's a lot of fun. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!